Netflix is facing complaints filed with the National Labor Relations Board last week by employees fired or suspended during the Dave Chappelle controversy. They allege the streaming giant retaliated against them over their public criticism of Chappelle's comedy special, The Closer, in which he remarks on the trans and LGBTQ+ communities. Netflix has denied the assertions made in the complaints. Calls for canceling Chappelle and Netflix hasn't seemed to faze either party, however. The company recently announced it has roughly 214 million subscribers worldwide, with revenues of more than $7 billion. And although Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos apologized over his comments surrounding the special, he was later seen supporting Chappelle at Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremonies last week. Jay-Z has even come to Chappelle's defense, saying, "Great art can be divisive, and that when you're making great art, you have to be fearless and you have to create something that you believe in, and that's what it's about." We have new Hill-HarrisX data on what voters think about cancel culture. Let's take a look at that. The poll found a whopping 71% of voters believe cancel culture has gone too far, including voters across party lines and other demographics. Ryan, not really surprising. People don't like cancel culture. This is something the left has to grapple with, or the handful of kind of progressive media activist type people who go to the mat for cancel culture or who dismiss the concept entirely. Nobody likes it. Nobody else likes it.
Well, and I think that you see that acknowledgement from the online left in the fact that they refuse to acknowledge it. Like, that's how you can always tell that you've lost an argument on something, is when your response is, well, actually that thing doesn't exist. It's like, well, clearly it does, because we're talking about, like, are we all insane?
Oh, so if you care about cancel culture, why haven't you weighed in on X other thing? And I'm like, so you're agreeing that cancel culture is bad, and you're saying here's another example of it that you think is bad. But somehow that's supposed to that just calls out, and sometimes there's hypocrisy worth calling out, but you're not really attacking the concept if you think it just needs to be applied in more situations.
You're embracing the concept as a worthwhile kind of weapon to wield against your
Obviously,
your enemies.
The concept suffers from a lack of rigor or a lack of proper depth. What is cancel culture? Like, in some sense, even Chappelle he didn't face any real jeopardy. Netflix was very likely to back him. He hasn't suffered. He's even said, "This is cancel culture. Bring it on."
Although he has since complained that now it's hard. He's trying to do a film, and it's much tougher to get it screened at a bunch of festivals or something. Like, so he said that there have been some actual consequences. But on the other hand, like, he invited it. Like, he knew it was a thing, and he went for it. And Jay-Z's right that great art, often is going to be divisive. His show could have been funnier. Like, that was if it were funnier, he may have gotten a little bit less blowback even.
Yeah. So I finally watched all of it. I didn't like it as much as Sticks and Stones. I thought was the best of the Netflix specials.
Getting a little too angry.
Yeah.
A little
too meta. A little too about itself.
Right. And not funny enough.
Right.
Yes, I think he's getting, but this is what happens when you get wrapped up in the axle of cancel culture. Yeah. Like, both sides just get hotter and hotter and are unable to speak to each other and lose touch with the thing that gave what they were doing meaning to begin with.
When you're just responding to the critics and you're not, I've come up with a term for this. I call it Galileo syndrome. When you only want to have a fight about how everyone's mad at you for the thing you said or whatever.
And you're Galileo.
You're Galileo. Yeah.
Right.
Let it go. Read the room, man. Let it go.
Right. And you're probably not Galileo. Like, the thing that you're, like, the hill you're dying on is probably not what Galileo discovered.
Right.
But so people need perspective too.
People need perspective, and it's not that it's right. Is it the biggest issue that has ever plagued humankind? I always say because I'm sensitive to this because I get accused a lot of being overly focused on cancel culture because it's one of my beats, it's one of my areas of interest. Doesn't mean I think it's like more important than Afghanistan or something. But I'm interested in it, and my readers are interested in it, so I cover it.
And it's helping to shape the culture, and I think it's pushing world history in a direction away from where the material forces might have been going post neoliberalism. Neoliberalism has not been vanquished yet, but the individualism and the atomization that was kind of central to neoliberalism, I think, was receding, and there was more of a kind of a feeling of community, building around the world, and social media and the cancel culture, which is kind of inherently part of it because of the hostility that social media produces for profit, is, I think, at scale and globally, pitting people against each other in a way that is undermining the trends that we're heading in a positive direction.
Yeah,
so
really.
In that sense, it matters.
Really puts people's worst moments to the forefront, and that comes to define you and defines your public persona in a very unhealthy way.
The algorithm loves that and figures it out, and then figures out how to tweak it just a little more the next time.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, we will have more Rising right after this.